Hello, welcome inside the Hera press box. I'm going four eyes tonight. Lazy enough not to put my contacts in. And I guess that wasn't a slam to you that you always wear your
Yeah,
glasses.
yeah, it's fine. I was gonna hold back on that one. I was
Yeah,
gonna let it go. So,
too late to retrace my steps, so let's just move on forward with that. Sounds like tonight what we'd like to do is go through a joint effort as far as putting a roster together for the upcoming U.S. Women's Tournament of Nations
hmm
that begin a week from Thursday. So we'll run through a roster and have some comments with those players that we decide to choose. And first, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and go through the scores and we'll
yeah,
have any comments as we go through that. So, okay, I don't know how to say her first name. Did you pick up on her first name? Because no way it's
Garbine.
Garbine.
I
What's
would
that?
say I would say Garbine,
So would
but
I.
I don't know if that's correct whatsoever.
Garbine Muguruza defeated Venus Williams in straight sets 7-6, 5-0, 6-0 for the Wimbledon crown, the 23-year-old Spaniard's second major title. Sung Hyun Park
hmm
wins the U.S. Women's Open in New Jersey. She finished at 11 under. Marina Alex was the top finishing American at 4 under. The Mystics only needed 21 second half points to hold on against Indiana. They beat them by 14, but their offense struggled too much against New York and got beat 85 to 55. The Sky went on the road and won over New York 78-68 the final there, but then Chicago lost a road matchup with Dallas in double overtime 112-106. Minnesota won both of the home and home games against Phoenix, and Brianna Stewart's 24 powered Seattle past Atlanta. Plenty of shutouts in the Pro Fast Pitch League this weekend. San Antonio blanked Akron and Beijing. Scrapyard shut out the Charge, then scored 0 against Chicago. Akron picked up 2 wins against the Beijing team. The Pride are now 5.5 up in the standings. The Euros are underway. Denmark's goal in the 6th minute held for the win against Belgium. The same result for Netherlands squad that defeated Norway. Tomorrow's action sees Italy against Russia and Germany face Sweden. Sorry. The NWSL featured a handful of different storylines this weekend. The top team fell and Portland 1-0. Chicago let Sky Blue tie the match late in that one to earn a draw. Orlando throttled FCKC as the Blues are on their way towards Andy Sullivan. A Loyalist Dash team won 2-1 over a Pewless Spirit team, and the Breakers earned a hard fought draw against Seattle. And that's your recap for the weekend.
hmm
Yeah, so Venus Williams.
Yeah, so I was only able to watch the first set, and I think you said you only were able to watch the first set. I didn't feel like she wasn't in charge. She was just kind of pushing the ball, just getting the ball over the net. So I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, I was a little bit surprised she got a goose egg in that second set. I was expecting her to put up a little bit more of a fight, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but I think for her to be getting to a final is incredible at 37 years old and playing at the level that she's playing at. And she's been playing since like day one of her life. So it's not like she was one of those players that started late and has had a shorter career. She's been pretty much playing probably
Mm-hmm.
for around 30 years.
One of the things, do we talk about it on here or do we just say that kind of off air as far as the Ostapenko next
Yeah. I
star of
don't know.
tennis?
Yeah,
So,
I think we talked about it on here, but if we
okay.
didn't, we for sure talked about it off air.
Yeah, recap that the score had published an article about Ostapenko becoming the next star of women's tennis after her victory at the French Open,
Mhm.
and now we have Muguruza who dominated complete domination of a
Mhm.
Wimbledon championship. And I haven't seen any article headlines
Mhm.
in different surfaces, but still, I mean, that's you go over the years, and there are players that dominate each surface, and they're still considered the star of the sport. So,
Right.
um, I would hope that Muguruza gets the same kind of attention
Right.
that Ostapenko
Mhm.
got, and I was much more impressed
Right.
with
Oh
this
yeah.
championship
Oh
than
yeah.
Ostapenko's.
Yeah. How old is Ostapenko? She's still 18, 19?
20,
Oh, she's 20. Okay.
20, and Muguruza is
23.
23, right?
Yeah. We'll see. I'm still waiting on it though. I think it's a little bit ridiculous, especially given her track record and the fact that she's already won one.
Right.
She's been playing well. I think she's in the top 10 now with winning here. So how can you not point to her pretty much as the next one? And maybe she had an article out there when she won her first
That's true.
championship. That may have been out there. It may have just been once you win your first, you get that article. Then after that, it's just kind of, you won. Okay,
Yep.
here's your ranking. Here's your prize money. No more articles for you.
Okay. Let's see. You plan on watching any of the Euros?
I hope to. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to. But yeah, that's hopefully I'll be able to catch some games.
You have a team over there you pull for?
Mm, not necessarily.
Uh-huh.
I want to see good games though. Hopefully, challenging games. It's only going to build the sport. It's only going to build competition for the U.S. And I think the U.S. has got something good going here with the Tournament of Nations coming up. It's Australia, Brazil, and Japan in it. So it's not like we're playing, you know, outside of the top 10 or top 15. I'm not sure what Australia is ranked in FIFA rankings, but we're playing some top teams. So building the sport, having these tournaments is huge, I think.
Yeah.
For building it worldwide.
No, this is, yeah, it seems to be the first time that this type of talent has come together in this sort of a friendly atmosphere,
Right, right.
and that the U.S. has led the charge with it. Yeah, this should be fun to watch.
No, I think it really depends again on what Jill Ellis is looking to bring to the table. Is she still looking to essentially kind of, in a way, rebuild or reshape how U.S. soccer has been
Mm-hmm.
playing? Kind of that transition that she's been trying to make, or if she goes back to essentially the way we've been doing things back in the World Cup and before the World Cup. So it's going to be I'm a little bit nervous about this roster, not gonna lie. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, I guess, that we haven't gotten anything yet with 11 days to
Yeah,
go. Um, which I don't know if that's normal, I guess. Usually, isn't it like way in advance? Um,
yeah, it seems to
and,
be a couple weeks.
right. And then it doesn't also help with kind of the Euros on top of that, because again, we talked about last episode with Portland missing 3 players. So you're assuming they're going to be missing, they could probably be missing at least 3 again. So they could be missing 6 in total,
Mm-hmm.
unless they kind of do the back and forth traveling, which I don't know if they're going to as far as the players who are in the Tournament of Nations. Not sure how that's going to go. So, I mean, that'd be a tough thing for them to be traveling back and forth. For Portland, maybe the players might be a little bit easier if the games are at home, because it's all these games are on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Seattle on the 27th, San Diego the 30th, and Carson, California on the August 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Well, should we go ahead and start the discussion on roster?
Yeah. I have a whole roster we can just are we gonna just gonna go by like who do you have for keeper, who do I have for defenders type of thing, and then we can battle out to see who actually
Yeah, I
makes
mean,
the
I don't.
team.
There honestly shouldn't be too much battling. I don't think.
Right. I don't think so either. But there's a couple people that I have that are. So I at first thought this is the roster. The roster that I have is everyone that I first thought of.
Okay.
Then I took a minute and I was like, okay, who else can I add essentially to it? And I've come up with a couple of names. So I've kind of got reserves of the reserves type too.
Okay.
So you want to go with keepers since that's the shortest
Yeah.
list?
Sure.
So I have Nair and Campbell. I only did 2 keepers. I don't know what they're doing, but that's who I have.
Agreed.
Okay. Anybody else that you would throw in there?
Not a chance.
For defenders, let's see. I have 8 defenders. Again, not
Hmm.
sure how many they're actually going to be going for. I
How
did.
many?
I think
How
in
many total?
total I have 22 or 23. 22 in
Okay.
total. I based it off the World Cup roster. So I think World Cup roster is 23. So I took one less keeper off because I doubt we'll go with 3. Anybody on defenders right off the top of your head who you think we can't live without?
I mean, the 5
Right.
that are staples: JJ, Kling,
Mm-hmm.
O'Hara, Sauerbrunn, and Casey Short.
Oh, okay. Okay. That is someone that I definitely didn't think of, but I should have.
Short.
Yeah.
I thought you'd come around. You already still
No,
forgot her?
I totally forgot. I honestly forgot. That's really bad of me. But I forgot. But I'm on board with that. I do not. I am not disagreeing with that one whatsoever. So I of course have Krieger on there
Okay. Yep.
if we're good with that, and then I added Sonnet,
Yep. Okay.
and then I have Dahlkemper, and then the only other one that I would have is Menges.
Okay. And I was, yep, that's Sonnet and Mingus would have been the next.
2 for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think as many defenders as we can get, we can get. We should take on.
Yeah.
So let's see, midfielders. I have Carly,
Mm-hmm.
Allie Long, Morgan Bryan, Pino, Haran. And then like the last 2 or 3 spots, I kind of have it up to like 4 players right now.
Did you say Pino?
Yeah,
And you say Mewis?
that was one that I
Okay.
was going to mention. She wasn't at first thought on it,
Yep.
but that is because my only question, and I doubt she's going to be on the team because she hasn't played forever, but first thought was Tobin. Doubt she's going to be on it. She may not even be back for playoffs for Portland. But I don't really know where that is at.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Mewis?
She's an option.
Okay. Let's see.
Because I'm
Mhm.
gonna put as far as that group of questionables, I'm putting Huerta at the top of it. So it just depends on.
Okay. I have Huerta up at forward.
Okay.
I didn't put her at midfield. And then who else? Did I say Morgan Bryan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have Lloyd Long, Morgan, Pino, Haran, and then Mewis. And then I had Serboni and Killian kind of for that last spot at midfield.
So those would be interesting. And I
Right.
was thinking
Yeah.
right before we started this
Hmm.
about Zerboni, and I guess that she did a call. She's good enough. She's shown that she's good enough this season.
Right.
Hope that the call up doesn't mean, okay, you're 30 years old. You have one shot, and you've shown that this is your
Right.
time for that one shot.
Right.
Here's a roster spot.
Right.
And I guess that doesn't seem like something that would happen as much on the women's side, like it happens as much on this side of sports, um, as opposed to whatever, a Derek Jeter in the All Star game
Right.
getting served up a hit,
Right.
kind of along those lines, but
Mhm.
here now. So that's my thought behind that.
Hmm.
I would love to see her be on the roster, but I hope it's for the right reasons.
Right. Anybody else that you would add or take off of the midfield list?
No, I mean, as long as you have Horn and Brian
Right.
on there, then those are the two that once you get past those two, and I know I've talked to you about that before,
Mhm.
Rose is due to be
Oh,
healthy in the next couple of weeks.
yeah, I doubt that she would get thrown in there.
Right. This Wednesday be the 5th week, and she was 6th.
Okay. Okay. Hmm. That may be another reason why she's holding off.
Yep, I was
Alex.
going to mention that. Just injuries. I know Horan got banged up in this game yesterday.
Well, she shouldn't have even been playing in the game yesterday because she should have gotten 2 yellows and a red last week. So, we could have saved her. The refs could have saved her.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, once again, I would just blame the refs.
It's fine. It's how you always do. Yeah, but I know I could see injuries being the reason why
Yeah. Yeah.
we're holding back. So
Hmm. All right, on to forwards.
yeah. And you had word to there.
I did have Huerta there because I knew that you were going to put her there.
Uh-huh.
So I wasn't going to challenge that. I
Good.
think forwards is where I had the most players on the side that could easily make the list, and the people that I first picked could easily not make the team in my mind. So I have LaRue,
Uh-huh.
I have Alex, I have Pugh, Huerta, and Press. I think that it's very much of a likelihood that Alex Morgan could not make this team. You think that that's a likelihood?
I think it's a possibility.
But will it happen? No.
No. The way she kind of finished yesterday, it should be a better possibility than it is.
Right, that's true.
But no, I think she's on the team.
Yeah. So people that I had on the side or as reserves: Dunn,
Yep.
Lynn Williams, and Alexa Newfield.
Yeah, I had Williams and Dunn listed.
Okay.
Williams probably the edge over Dunn, I would say.
Yeah. Would you take LaRue? So who would you have? Morgan, Huerta, Dunn, and Williams. So that's 4. Who would you add if you had one more?
Well, Press.
Okay.
Yeah. No doubt. Press is there for sure. She's the only, I would say,
She's the only for sure one?
yeah, I would say she's the only for sure forward.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't disagree with that. Anybody that you can think of that we left off that has a definite possibility of making the team?
No, we mentioned everybody that on my list, and I'm just on the NWSL site looking at stats, and I don't see anybody that sticks out.
Yeah. Man, I can't believe I forgot Casey Short. I feel so bad. But imagine, so you have Nair, you have Julie, Casey, Huerta, and
Yep.
Press.
Yep.
So the Red Stars are not going to have a team for a week.
Well, that's a similar team to what they had last year for a
Okay.
good stretch amount of time. They would have had Huerta last year, but as far as superstars,
Mm-hmm.
uh, DiBernardo was the captain,
Okay.
who I still consider the captain of that team
Right.
anyway.
Right.
DiBernardo and Colaprico in the
Okay.
midfield. I'm still confident in that team.
Mm-hmm.
And then Michelle Dalton stepped up
Mm-hmm.
great for Nair last year.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder
Yeah.
if they bring back Cara Walls
Mm-hmm.
to play. I know
Right.
she's hasn't been on the roster this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think they really like what they've seen out of Lauren Caskey and Summer Green. I would not be surprised to see Caskey and Green get starts if this roster that we unveiled is what gets chosen from Ellis.
Do you think that Ellis plays into the fact of her decision of where each team is at in the standings? So let's just take the Red Stars. You think that for whatever reason, let's just say she doesn't take two of the four that we listed. So let's just say she doesn't take Casey Short and Huerta. You think that that's like playing in her mind of, are these players going to come and play because of their team and where they're at in the standings? Or do you think that there's enough time in the season for them to think it's going to be okay that they're gone for a week?
Yeah, I think I feel like there's pressure for both ways. One,
Yeah. Yeah.
that if she's there's nobody on the breakers that she's going to choose, but let's say she comes in and picks 5 people from the breakers and puts them on the roster. I think that raises a lot of questions. So I
Right.
think she feels maybe some pressure to pick the best teams,
Mm-hmm.
sort of the MVP race, and put them on the
Right.
national squad. And then at the same time, I think of what your question more leans to, as far as does she feel pressure to not choose players because they're in a playoff hunt, and whether it's their decision to hold out, which I don't
Yeah.
see. I don't think anybody would say no. I don't think that's, especially the way that the article on Sofia Huerta, which I haven't read all the way through yet, and
Mm-hmm.
I will if she makes the team. But her talking about just the chance of playing for a national team,
Right.
I think you're going to find that a little bit in every player, no matter how many caps.
Oh yeah.
Great, but I do think there is some pressure flowing out from both ways to make those decisions.
So if you're Portland and if you're Chicago and you have the chance of losing, the chance of for Portland, I think what did I say, 6 or 7 players
Yeah,
due to the Euros and due to the Tournament of Nations. Then who knows outside of that? I don't know who. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head who would be pulled for Australia, Brazil, and Japan. So we're just talking a combination of players from the Euros and Americans right now. So we're
all right.
really not talking outside.
Yeah, because Sam Kerr's gone,
Right.
Steph Catley's gone,
Right.
Alana Kennedy, even though she hasn't played much, is gone.
Yeah, the backbone of the Houston Dash is going to be gone.
Yeah, they might lose a couple games
Right.
finally this
Right.
season
Right.
after
Just
this
on top.
long stretch they've been on to start to kick off the year.
Yeah.
They might finally come crashing down to reality.
Yeah. Going back to where they started. So so let's just throw Houston in there because they're going to pretty much lose offense there. If you're Houston, Chicago, or Portland, are you trying to incentivize your players not to go? Are you saying, are you upset? Are you essentially trying to not make them go? Do you have a say in that, I guess?
If I'm Mark Parsons in Portland, I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Rory Dames in Chicago not so much.
Hmm.
I get the feeling that he has the. I mean, not that he's any better than Parsons in Portland, but I get a feeling that he is more comfortable with
Hmm.
every player on his roster. And like I said, the Kasky and Green, I know he's talked tremendously about those two, and he wanted Summer Green on this roster. So
Hmm.
it's for him, it's more of a yeah, take him. I'd love to see what my players have to offer.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
let's let them prove me right this time. So
Right.
Houston, I don't think there's any
I mean, you can't really do anything out there.
right. Yeah, I mean that ship's already
Right.
set sail and sank. So
Yeah. Uh, yeah, well, then Houston has a tough stretch after the Tournament of Nations. They've got, we talked about this last night for a little bit. They've got what, 3 games in the span of 7 days, and they have to go from Boston to Portland in one of those for 2 of those games, 2 out of the 3 games, which I find to be a little bit harsh.
yeah, I don't know if every team does that. I would assume they tried to because like I said, like I responded back to you. Chicago did it where Chicago went from Chicago to Seattle to Orlando.
But we're talking about going west to east, and now we're talking about east to west.
For what?
Well, if they went from Portland to Orlando, it's just a switch in direction.
Right.
Isn't it? Is it not easier to go from west to east than it is to go east to west? Or is it the opposite?
I don't know. To me, it's the same thing.
To me, it's the same.
To me, it's getting up at
Right.
whatever time they get up at and having to leave at whatever time they leave to get
Right.
there 4 hours
Right.
before the game starts.
Right.
Another player that I had just thought of, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually she gets her name mentioned on these kinds of talks, is
Mm-hmm.
Ashley Hatch. I don't know if
Yeah.
we're there yet, and but at the same time, we also did just mention however many forwards are still
Right.
kind of on the fence about getting added to the roster or not. I mean, I guess I would put her up there with anybody besides Press, who I said is an obvious yes. But and I mean, I'm a big enough Hatch fan that I
Right.
guess I would stick up for her against
Yeah.
those other players like Dunn and even Pugh at the moment. Definitely against Morgan,
Yeah.
against Lynn Williams.
Yeah. What do you think happens in Tournament of Nations? I guess it depends on our roster.
Yeah, right. Um,
I mean, because it's a tournament, but I think it's essentially, it's kind of like the She Believes Cup, where it's going to be competitive because of who's in it, but it's also a friendly in a way, like you were saying.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like we're not going to go out there and compete. It's not like Australia and Brazil and Japan aren't going to go out there and compete, but it's definitely a different feel than, or at least from the outside looking in, different feel than World Cup or Olympics. So I'm interested to see what Ellis does, to see if she calls up newcomers, and then to see if she's going to stay the way of kind of her experimental route that she's kind of been taking over the last
Mhm.
couple of years.
Yeah, if you run a three back against these three teams, you're giving up 3 goals. I don't
Oh
care
yeah.
who's in
Oh
goal.
yeah.
So that's hopefully done.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Not really sure how you continue that one, just because you haven't had any success with it whatsoever. Very, very minimal success, if you want to say it in a
Mm-hmm.
positive light.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, especially against these 3 teams, there's, I mean, there's no way that we're going to be able to withstand. the firepower that they all have on offense.
Yeah, but it'll be a great tournament. I really think so. So that'll be nice to see.
Yeah. I think the hard thing too with us is, at least from an American standpoint, and I don't know how other teams feel about it either. It's just because I follow our team and I get more information about our team. Is so they start next Thursday, so it's not like they're going into camp unless they get called into essentially camp, I guess, if you want to put that in quotes, before this weekend. So this next set of games. So are they going to miss 1 or 2 games?
Right.
And then what does that say about our team if we're only together 3 days before a tournament? I mean, we haven't even announced a roster. I don't know if the other 3 teams have. So it kind of shows that it's maybe not necessarily such a big tournament, even though the competition is going to be high. We would have been in camp probably 2 weeks ago, or a week or so ago already.
Yeah, you can kind of tell that this is the inaugural
right.
nation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they pick the roster that we went with, I think they win easily. So I mean, that's just me.
Yeah. If they pick the roster that we have and they go not with a 3-back,
right,
we win.
Right. Were you going to say something? Or you have anything to wrap up?
No, I just want to say that I was pretty much right with Jane Campbell. She just needed some minutes, and she's been pretty extraordinary. The goal that she gave up last night, she probably should have stopped. The announcers were kind of ripping her apart for that one, which she should have been covering the near post. She left a lot of room between her and the near post. But she's been impressive. She started the past 2-3 weeks now?
I think 3.
Yeah, and she probably had 4 incredible saves last night. That could be up for save of the week. Each one of them could be up for save of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, she's found a groove. I would say. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Lydia.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do, it's safe to say the Dash have a goalie of the future. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
There's one position figured out.
Yeah,
10 more to go.
Their back line needs some help still, of course. Oh my gosh. It's pretty sad. I shouldn't say not the whole back line, just there's a certain player or two that just need to get it together and help Campbell out just a little bit.
Yeah, Poliana has shown why she was the Dash representative in the All-Star game, though. So that makes me feel good that I picked that one, right?
Yeah. The lone representative.
Yep. Pretty clear. But I would like to say that by Thursday, we have a roster that we can talk about.
I would hope so.
Would hope so.
A week out.
Yeah, and maybe we'll get to watch some of the Euros so we can talk about that a little bit and whatever stories come out.
Tennis is pretty much over. Well, I mean, not over, but as far as major tournaments to the U.S. Open.
Yeah, and if anything comes up breaking newsworthy, I'm sure we'll touch on it. But for our regularly scheduled broadcast, that is all I have to say.
That is all that I have.
Okay. Well, then we will see you same time, same place on Thursday evening. Thanks for stopping by the Hera Press Box.